Hello guys, today I'll be answering your questions and also sharing this watercolor sketchbook process. The painting is just a tiny quick sketch that I made within about 30 minutes as a quick practice to loosen up, so it's kind of messy, but I hope you don't mind. I collected questions on both Instagram and YouTube. I don't think I answered these in a video before. Also, this is my way of saying thank you so much for 20k followers here on YouTube. Seeing this number makes me nervous, and maybe you noticed there wasn't a new video for about 2 weeks. I have been feeling rather anxious about the way I create videos and about the big idea behind my YouTube channel, and I just needed to take a step back and see if I'm comfortable with going further. You can find timestamps in the description to help you navigate this video a little better and maybe even skip to the question that you wanted to be answered the most. First question: how did you get started with art? I have a very embarrassing introduction video on this channel that I still did not delete. I don't know why, so I challenge you to find it and listen to the story of my beginnings from my younger self. Short answer: I always drew and painted just like children do. Even went to an art class for 8 years as a kid and won some competitions. But this thing is, they never taught us how to draw. The dynamics of the class was more like, here's the topic and this is the technique and you create whatever. Those artworks were sent to competitions without us even knowing. That way you were never disappointed if you didn't win, and always happy if there was a prize coming out of nowhere, and never was wondering if your art is good enough. And this is, I think, how it should be with children and art. Even on my live workshops, I refuse to bother children with anatomy and drawing proportionally, and rather try to develop that joy of the creative process without comparison to others. But here's the thing: when I wanted to draw in my teeny years and create a realistically looking artwork, that wasn't really what went so well. I was able to get some still lifes right, but that was about it. I knew absolutely no technical fundamentals of drawing and painting, and so I closed that chapter as not being talented and went to study biology. I only picked up where I left off at a pretty late age, at my 25, after my first daughter was born, and ever since, a quality drawing and painting tutorials and classes started to appear on the internet. I was actually able to learn so much that it's incredible. I thought about art school, but it was too late for me to apply, being a single mom at the age of 28 with bills to pay, so I really didn't have that many options. Because of my experience, I am a big fan of online education. People in my hometown always think that they are not motivated enough to learn online, they can make better progress during live courses, but I could make an entire video on how I see my students progress through my Patreon, just like I myself progressed while learning with Schoolism and Skillshare, because self-taught doesn't mean that you are sitting under the tree trying to figure out how to draw the thing, but it's rather a disciplined endeavor to study without mentorship that usually has the power to shorten the time needed to learn your skills. And I can see that in myself, that what took me 10 years to learn, I see other people mastering in 2 or 3. But I'm raising a family and nurturing active art career at the same time, so it's bound to take a bit longer. Next question: have you ever struggled with improving and how to overcome this? Yeah, of course, all the time. That is very normal. I actually would have my alarm on if I like my works too much. It would usually mean that something is wrong and I am unable to see it. The biggest frustration happens when I fall in love with someone else's art and then compare that to my own. That is some harsh shadow cast over my works, and even this usually isn't realistically saying that the art is bad. It's just like the regular falling in love in life. The infatuation blindfolds you to anything else that this new and exciting thing. In comparison to that, your art might feel old and uninspired, maybe even amateurish and overplayed. You might be frustrated from something else, but usually when you're frustrated, is that you have a particular picture in mind of what you want your art to be like or look like that isn't met. I actually have audiobooks to listen to when I get to this state of mind, so that I don't stop creating my own thing, even if I don't feel like it has a future at that very very moment. My latest favorite is Art and Fear by David Bales and Ted Orland. I will link it down below for you. In one passage, the book talks about vision versus realization and states that vision is always ahead, and so the artwork will always look better in your head than on that paper, and it is what keeps pushing that realization towards. So dream big, but don't give up on your practice, never ever. Even if you didn't yet find a single person besides you who likes the work, just give it time, give it love. If you care for it, people will eventually start caring for it too. Next question, your inspirations. That would be a hell of a list, but I'm going to list 3 authors. One that made me fall in love with watercolor, one from art history that I tend to go back to even though the art is very different from mine, and one from my own country who creates gorgeous academic works that keep me in constant awe. The first one is Agnes Cecile. She started to share her watercolor works on DeviantArt and YouTube, and I found her in 2011, following her ever since. I didn't know what was possible to do with watercolor until she showed the world. Besides that, she was very young, she is younger than me, and watching her art, career and works develop for over 11 years, that was really incredible. The historical favorite artist that I deeply admire is Edgar Payne. He was a landscape painter mostly, and I bought an art book, heavy and large, that cost me fortune and I read it every time I need spiritual boost. His landscapes are breathtaking and are really a lesson on how to use tonal values and color. I will never be a landscape painter. Every year I create several watercolor landscapes on vacation, but there is so much to learn from his works beyond landscapes. The last one is a Slovak painter, Katarina Vavrová. I will link her Instagram down below. She's an academic painter and her works are beautifully drawn, cared for to the very last detail, and the color just sings in those paintings. I even met her during one of our local exhibitions like 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah, probably 3, and she is just very inspiring. So go check her out if you want to see what my inspiration is there. Next question, when did you start your local business / workshops? I opened my studio as a local business in 2017. That is when I quit my steady but incredibly frustrating day job and risked all in this one card that is my art career. My studio is organizing live workshops for locals in my native language mostly, but I have ambitions when my younger daughter gets a bit older, she's 1 year old now, to do live workshops even abroad and in English, which would be very exciting experience. However, for now it's local, and this year I even hired one of my students to teach a few workshops instead of me because the demand is quite high and I want to focus on my own artworks and my family a bit more. This business allows me to not put too much financial burden on my artworks anymore. Actually, lots of you requested the artist income kind of video, so let me know if there is still interest in it. It will be a difficult video to accurately put together, but it might help some of you with the start of their own career. Next question, do you work on commission? No guys, I've done that for many years and I have so many reasons not to take on commissions anymore unless my children are starving. Let's discuss this in a separate video that is coming your way, and once I publish it I will link it down below. However, I still took on book illustration project, but in a very non-flexible way. It took me about a year to finish this last book because of the baby, and so it is not a good fit for me anymore. Next question, what goals are you working towards? I set goals every year. I do not set life goals because I don't know what is possible and what I would like eventually, because this might change. This year I set a goal to practice as much as I can, being fearless, destroy as much paper as I can, just generally not be afraid of the blank page. So quantity over things that take too much time. I gave up on larger formats, but not altogether. I already made one larger painting and I'll do another one when I feel comfortable and have enough space to fully focus on it. I have zero ambitions when it comes to my art career. I don't care for being a gallery artist much. I hate competitions and I get very anxious when there is any kind of public pressure on my work. I do not handle this very well. Just want to be able to paint and not to be too stressed about what the art looks like and what it means. Obviously I want to progress technically and insert more meaning into the artwork, but I just cannot cannot handle any kind of pressure. That's it for the art goals, but I have education goals. I want to create a helpful and comprehensive portrait class on Skillshare to go with my other two classes on watercolor fundamentals and effects that is also on a to-do list for this year. Next question, how and when did your YouTube channel started to grow? I have to think because I've been posting to YouTube for 10 years and that might be weighing my channel down a bit compared to a new channel that goes after one thing straight away and attracts the right kind of audience from the start. Because I posted a lot of very different things than what I paint now. I feel people joined the channel originally for different content than what I do now. It's strange, but in those moments when I thought my channel needs to grow and therefore I need to do more tutorials on painting simple things like plants or animals, I did not realize that in a long run I really need to publish what I want to paint for myself, because when you are followed not by random people but people that actually engage with the kind of content that you create, this gives YouTube signal that they need to push your videos to more people interested in similar things. When you have an audience that has mixed interests and your content is also a mix of stuff, then when you publish a new video, only a part of your audience engages with it and the rest is probably waiting until you post the stuff they joined for. I don't know what audience I have right now, you can never be sure, but the first video that took off was finally the tips on painting a watercolor portrait, and I thought it's good because that's what I want to create more of on this channel. This makes me really think hard on publishing the content about art career and tips about those practical side of things that are unrelated to my artworks, because it might attract the audience that is not interested in my watercolor works, and I know that these painting videos will always prevail on this channel. I heard at one point you have to decide whether your channel is a hobby or a business and then treat it in such way. When it's a hobby, it's for you and you can post whatever you love doing, which is what I did up until now, but once it is a business, you have to focus on your audience and what they need help with. I don't think I can choose one of those. I am all about both things. I don't want this to become a full-time job because who needs the pressure? And I do want to do helpful videos because what purpose would then the channel have? Did I answer the question or just rambling on? You asked how and when did the channel started to grow, and it happened by uploading helpful content. First video that still attracts a lot of viewers is the tips on how to paint a portrait, and then the inspiring factor is there too, I guess, which depends on what the thumbnail and the actual painting look like. Try focusing on those things and you'll be fine. As for when it started to grow, that was at the beginning of this year when I forced myself to upload regularly twice a week and keep on talking to my audience, and I think people noticed that. Next question, how did you build your following on social media? I am the one artist with a very small social media following who actually made a living with their work despite of that, but my Insta started to grow rapidly lately in just weeks when I started to play around with reels that are so much fun for me and easy to create. I think this opened up the work to new audience, and also I noticed that algorithm must be different somehow because even small accounts started to be shown to people more than before. This is a hard topic that I cannot fully answer in such a short time. Expect a broader video on this topic because it's true that for a self-taught artist who doesn't have contacts or maybe lives in a small town, being able to find audience for their art on social media, it can be game-changing. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have it large. Even a small following can take you from occasional hobbyist to doing this full-time. But if you force me to give you a quick tip, imagine real people behind every like and every comment and try to interact just as if they were standing in a gallery next to you and your artwork. When I create reels, I imagine seeing the process from different perspective of someone who doesn't know how this kind of art is being created and look for aspects that might be interesting or captivating to them. With this mindset, you can always take interesting work in progress pictures and know what to write in that caption. I see so many artists just slap a picture of random artwork in there without a word, maybe just hashtags. I don't know what you expect your audience to make assumptions about what it is. Even if the artwork catches their eye, they won't be bothered to look into your profile without any additional word from the artist that would help them to place the artwork or hear a story about what's behind it. It doesn't have to be long, but just allow for a connection that isn't going to happen if you don't make the first step. I think I always talk to my audience, and even if the works weren't shown to new audiences, those older ones managed to turn into regular customers that once a year message me and want to buy originals or prints. You don't need a lot of people like this to be able to at least make enough to buy decent art supplies, and I always invested back into courses and education. So yeah, quick answer: nurture relationships and sparkle conversation. And lastly, how do you find time to practice and improve? I made a full video on this topic recently, and you can watch it right here for some helpful tips on how to organize your time and motivate yourself to practice more. And it's been a blast, guys. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!